All your jobs are belong to us. Guys, I wanted to go through how tech incompetency actually works behind the scenes because I know you're applying for jobs. If you're in tech or any other industry, this will likely apply to you. But you're applying for jobs and you're not finding any. Well, simultaneously, everyone's complaining that, oh, there's no one applying. I wanted to actually explain what's happening behind the scenes, how you're being defrauded out of jobs. I wanted to explain how all of that goes down with the H1B complaints that you're seeing. So we got this reporting from Eric Doherty. I'm gonna follow him. I just searched for it because it was breaking the other day. You probably saw this. Up to 90% of H1B visa applications contain fraudulent information or involve unqualified applicants. A former official tells Newsweek. Eric Doherty goes into this a little bit more. Um, Basically, you're being scammed. The jobs that you're applying to don't actually exist and are actually part of how the approvals to get an H1B or overseas worker actually works. The H1B is not simply, oh, you can just apply and get one. No, there's actually a few steps involved, but they're easily cheated. So the first thing I wanted to explain, the fake job applications. So when so like I just said, you're applying to a job application at XYZ Corp. I can't bring up examples because then I can be accused of saying they're specifically doing this. But you're seeing job applications that have like 50 different requirements for you, and they're insane lists, and there's absolutely no one that could ever be qualified for it. You're seeing applications that say must have professional experience in Go for at least 10 years when Go was only around for 5 years. That's an actual job listing that I saw however many years ago it was. The reason why that's happening is that when you apply for a job, you're not applying to a person, you're applying to an applicant tracking system, an ATS for short. That thing's going to go through all of the requirements that you had input into the system, and it's going to go through all of the requirements in your resume, all of the words that you posted, and it's going to check how many of those match up. This is why it's important that when you go through a job application that you find every single little keyword that they put in the job application and try to word it into your resume. As long as it's honest, you try to word it into your resume, and you actually have to be case sensitive and such. That's why. Because it's going to go through and it's going to exact match words from your resume into the job. When it goes through there, when they set this up, they're setting it up saying you're going through AWS. We want someone who's got experience in AWS or Google Cloud or Azure. But then when it goes into the ATS system, it says AWS and Google and Azure. And guess who's got experience in Google? Nobody, because nobody uses it. And because there's 50 requirements and there's one that you don't have, they can say, oops, you're not qualified for the job. And suddenly you completely fail and you've been thrown out. So you can have thousands of people apply for this job that a listing has been made for, and no one no one who applies qualifies because they've got nearly impossible conditions. You're not going to find someone who's got 10 years of experience in C# and Java in a senior engineer role, because the senior engineer is going to have 10 years of experience. There's no way that they can have 10 years of experience in both. Why does this happen? There's two reasons. One half of it, you can get HR departments frequently don't understand how the systems behind the scene works. They might be talking to a tech side, or they might be talking to accounting, and accounting saying, NetSuite and whatever the other one is, these are equally allowed accountant software that you can use. We expect one of them. Or in tech, like I said, the different cloud providers, we expect one of them. The HR department is going to interpret that as, okay, put these both in. And so you get this conflict of, okay, that's not we're not going to find candidates that reach that. The other half of it is that a lot of the recruiting has actually been outsourced into India. That's why I bring up the H. This is more of why I bring up the H1B and why you can see me screeching about it on Twitter. The reason why is a lot of this stuff goes back to India. A lot of recruiting has gone into India. When you go to Dice, why does it immediately when you apply to Dice? Why is it that you immediately start getting scam calls? Part of that is Dice. Part of that is you're applying to people overseas. Okay. And so they're going to set up the system that immediately says you can't find any qualified candidates because that means allegiance to their tribe. Why do I say allegiance to their tribe? I'll likely get into that a little bit later. My last note is what is on that specifically, but that will help the groups over there get more jobs, and so they can feed their own system. But let's say you're lucky enough that you make it, you get to the job, you get through the hiring process, and you get hired. What's going to happen? I mean, you're going to start working in my example here, tech job, but any other area counts. You're going to encounter likely something called code switching. Code switching refers to language. When you would speak in a different language around people who understand only think if you speak English, people around you will speak in Spanish, and you can't understand them, and they can have conversations totally in secret. This happens inside the business. You're seeing people who speak I think the language is Hindi. When they speak in this other language, they talk amongst themselves. Your instinct is to assume that they're having a normal conversation. What's actually happening is that they're actually like dealing out tasks, dealing out works, syncing, and then they don't have to with the English participants. And so the English participant will give their status for the day in a daily stand-up, and they'll not know any of the other conversations that happened. And so what can happen is that they can say your name is Joe. They can say Joe gets task ABC, and because you didn't understand them, you didn't realize that you were just assigned task ABC. And so they can go to your boss and they can say, look, this guy's a weak link. He's not getting anything done. We assigned him ABC. He was there, yet he's not doing it. It's totally rigged. It's totally unethical. It's there to screw you. I have personally encountered this. They will literally just speak in a different language. So that becomes that's that's only the tip of the iceberg. If you run into this situation, what you have to do is you have to meet a level of competency where there's simply no possible way that you could ever have anything rigged against you. You'd have to bring yourself to a point where they can say, okay, I know that's not the case, because if you assign him something, he gets stuff done within an hour. So you have to be lying, or there has to be a language barrier here. That's what happens. That's the level of criteria that you need to meet over top the baseline criteria of the job, and that's why it's so difficult to keep jobs when you've got H1B inside the business, which is why I've got these tabs open right here. You can see this one from End H1B now. This is if you are looking at career questions, or you're trying to find a job, this subreddit's great. Not for finding a job, but it's really eye-opening. There's a lot of complaints, a lot of people talking about issues, and they explain a lot of this stuff. Crazy, despite constantly asking my managers, unable to find suitable candidates within the U.S. Surprise, surprise, he approved hires from the same country of origin who will also be on H-1B visas. So this one's going back to the job applications. What you'll encounter is that they won't say, we need a worker to do X role. They'll say, we're looking for someone out of Mumbai. That is something, despite the fact that it's totally illegal, that you can't discriminate, and that you're not looking for specific countries of origins when you're trying to do H-1B. They'll say that, and it'll come off as strange at first, but once you realize, oh, it's not that they're looking for someone in Mumbai. Mumbai is the tribe. And so that's what you run into. And we got another one here. Friend hired at Deloitte with 8 years of fake experience. South Asian got a package for 145K, saying that he graduated college and just faked 8 years of experience. A manager only hires people from his home country. I'm not trying to sound racist, but something really weird on the hiring team is something about the hiring team has been really, really weird. I'm a 12-person engineering team. Yada yada yada. All the hires require H-1B sponsorship. So this is what's happening: is that even if you get the job, the whole thing's rigged so that they can screw you out of it, and then they give the job to someone overseas, and then the next thing is that this is something that you don't see personally until, well, you really see it. And this is the next thing I got here is I've called it code sabotage. And so I can only speak to tech. But I assume the other industries probably, if you're in an industry, feel free to reply in the comments the stuff that you see. So I can bring it up in any later videos. But what they'll do is that they'll write here we've got feature A, and then we've got feature B. In feature A, we write the code for it. Code has a small bug in it, so then we write in feature B a small bug in it. We file a bug on feature A, and we file a bug on feature B. The bug fix comes from two different people, from the feature B and feature A. They fix each other's bug and introduced a new bug into each other's code. Over time, feature A and feature B will both become a giant spaghetti mess, for which the only people who know how to navigate it are the people who wrote it, and the people who wrote it keep introducing bugs, thus creating an infinite circle where if you want to keep your product, you have to hire the same people, and the same people are the ones sabotaging your product. The only solution really is to just come in and just completely nuke the team. I've personally seen that there's actually, if you're in tech, a decent amount of money to be made by just simply getting good at reverse engineering and fixing spaghetti code. Being really, really good at diagnosing code that can't be read and basically re-architecting it and rewriting it. Because there's a lot of firms, again, specifically out of India, that will do this. They'll write code that's specifically written to be bad so that they can introduce more bugs, so that they can fix more bugs, creating an infinite dependency. So as I promised, the origins, where does this come from? So there's this concept you've probably heard of in India called the caste system. What they'll tell you what they tell the world is that the caste system no longer exists. This is a giant misleading statement. It does exist. It's no longer codified into law or into any systems. There's no legal protections for a caste system. However, it's still there. The caste system, for the assumption that we've got here in the United States, is that the caste system had, the best people on top, and there was like this untouchables layer down below. The caste system only applied to Indians. That is the big misconception. The caste system applies to Indians. Anyone who's not considered Indian is actually in a caste below the lowest caste. So if you're European, like I am, I'm American, and my descendants are from Prussia, Holland, and Ireland, I'm 0% Indian, thus I fall below the bottom caste. And thus I am on a equivalent level of basically a cockroach. If you saw a cockroach sitting on a pile of gold, would you think twice about stealing the gold? Would you think, not stealing the gold from a person, but you saw a cockroach just sitting on a gold bar, would you think twice about taking the gold bar from a cockroach? No, it's a cockroach. It doesn't understand the gold bar. And that's the root of what's happening, is that they see you as a caste below the bottom caste. Thus, it is justified to steal from you. It is justified to lie to you. You don't feel bad about lying to your dog that you're going on a walk when you're actually going to the vet, because it's a dog. It needs to be you need to lie to it to get to the vet. You need to lie to it to do what you think is right for it. And that's how you are seen. And so what you have is another aspect of this too. I promised I would talk about the tribes. You have in India, they don't see themselves as one giant country. Similar to the way the United States, a Texan does not see himself as a Californian, and a Californian does not see himself as a Texan. In India, that's the same way. If you're South India, you do not see yourself as Northwest India. And Northwest India does not see itself as Northeast India. These people do not see themselves as the same groups. They are within the same country, but they're not the same places. So if you pull up a scam map where you see scam call centers, you can pull up these maps where it shows the origin of a scam call, and you'll notice that it's not a giant red map of India. Rather, there's massive dots in like Mumbai. And so these tribes, they have allegiance to themselves first over everyone else. And so if they want to hire someone, what they're saying is, I have an allegiance to the Mumbai tribe, or I have an allegiance to the gas station family. So that's why you see gas stations are primarily, or not primarily, but heavily run by Indians, and then many of the Indians don't look like Coder Indians. That's why you see that, is that they see them, they are families, and they want to send things back to their own families, their own regions. So Mumbai is going to hire out of Mumbai. And so that's what's going on in these regions. And so what's happening is that they see you, and they see you've got a job in a nation full of wealth. They can go take that wealth from what is to them equivalent of cockroach, and then when you say, well, this is a meritocracy, they don't feel bad about lying about it. They're going to extract from what they believe is a cockroach, lie to the cockroach, and give money back to their tribe. And so that's the rough breakdown. Is that all the job listings, like, they're fake. They're all rerouted. They are literally just sitting there to trick you into applying. Oh, I forgot a note on that. The reason why they want to trick you into lying is because, or trick you into applying, is they want the applications to show, so that they can show proof that they're actually trying to hire people in the United States. That's why they need them. Yeah, I hope this was informative to you. I've been in tech for about 10 years now. Been programming since I was 12. Been in the middle of this since day I started programming. Been seeing this stuff. If you liked hearing about this, or if you like my content, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, smash those buttons until your mouse breaks. I will catch you all later.